Hello and welcome. You're watching News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna, and joining me here in the studio is my colleague Kartikeya Sharma. Over the next half an hour, we are going to talk about a radio program that has become a phenomenon in this country. It's a milestone the Government of India is going all out to celebrate. This Sunday, the 30th of April, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's popular monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat will complete 100 episodes. What's more, according to a survey, the program has garnered over 100 crore listeners. A study by the Indian Institute of Management, Rohtak, says nearly 96% of India's population is aware of Mann Ki Baat. The program began on the 3rd of October in 2014, months after Prime Minister Modi first came to power. It is broadcast on the last Sunday of every month at 11 a.m. on the AIR and Doordarshan network. Listing the reasons for the program's popularity, the survey says Prime Minister Modi is liked by the listeners for his powerful and decisive leadership, direct engagement and knowledgeable and empathetic approach. The program has encouraged the listeners to be aware of the government's work. 73% say they're optimistic and feel the country is going to progress. 58% believe their living conditions have improved. 55% of the listeners say they have become responsible citizens of the country, and 59% have reported an increase in trust in the government. 23 crore people tune into this program on a regular basis, while another 41 crore constitute an occasional audience. Apart from 22 Indian languages and 29 dialects, Mann Ki Baat is broadcast in 11 foreign languages. To commemorate the landmark 100th episode, the Finance Ministry has issued a notification saying that a new 100 rupee coin will be launched. There are also events lined up to celebrate this special episode. And of course, as with most things, a political war of words has already begun over this issue as well. Congress leader and head of the media cell, Jairam Ramesh, has tweeted, "It is Mann Ki Baat, or government's radio silence on Adani and China." However, the question we're asking on the show is just what explains this show's stupendous popularity.
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, मन की बात में आप सभी का एक बार फिर बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। आज इस चर्चा को शुरू करते हुए मन मस्तिष्क में कितने ही भाव उमड़ रहे हैं। हमारा और आपका मन की बात का ये साथ अपने 99वें पायदान पर आ पहुंचा है। आमतौर पर हम सुनते हैं कि 99 का फेर बहुत कठिन होता है। क्रिकेट में तो नर्वस 90 को बहुत मुश्किल पड़ाव माना जाता है, लेकिन जहां भारत के जन जन के मन की बात हो, वहां की प्रेरणा ही कुछ और होती है। मुझे इस बात की भी खुशी है कि मन की बात के 100वें एपिसोड को लेकर देश के लोगों में बहुत उत्साह है। मुझे बहुत सारे संदेश मिल रहे हैं, फोन आ रहे हैं। आज जब हम आजादी का अमृतकाल मना रहे हैं, नए संकल्पों के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, तो 100वें मन की बात को लेकर आपके सुझावों और विचारों को जानने के लिए मैं भी बहुत उत्सुक हूं। मुझे आपके ऐसे सुझावों का बेसब्री से इंतजार है। वैसे तो इंतजार हमेशा होता है, लेकिन इस बार ज्यादा है। आपके ये सुझाव और विचार ही 30 अप्रैल को होने वाले 100वें मन की बात को और यादगार बनाएंगे।
The 100th episode of Mann Ki Baat is coming up, and this coming Sunday, which is the 30th of April, will be the landmark day on which this episode would be broadcast. While it started initially as a radio program, but over a period of time, it's also expanded in scope, and the Doordarshan visualization is also now shared by multiple private TV channels as well, who also broadcast it and take it to a very large percentage of our population. The Mann Ki Baat program has also been a fairly interactive program. Many of the thoughts that are shared come in as suggestions and ideas from the listeners. And there have also been calls for various campaigns and that have grown into national campaigns. There are certain competitions that have been organized as part of the whole Mann Ki Baat ecosystem.
All right, let's now go across to our guest. Joining me on the show, Kanchan Gupta, Senior Advisor with the Information and Broadcasting Ministry in the Government of India. And here with me in the studio, our Executive Editor, Kartikeya Sharma. Kanchan Gupta, if I could start with you. One of the chief attributes of Prime Minister Modi has always been that he is described as a masterful orator, somebody who has a very strong connect with the people. Would you say that is behind the stupendous popularity of Mann Ki Baat? What would you attribute it to? We can't hear you, sir. Can you please unmute yourself?
Thank you for having me on your show. You see, you have to distinguish between oratory and communication. A good communicator has to also be a good orator. And the Prime Minister is an excellent communicator. I can't recall any other leader or any other Prime Minister for that matter, who was able to communicate with the people in such a manner. Indira Gandhi, I recall, was also a communicator, but Prime Minister Modi has taken it to an altogether different level of communication, of communicating directly with the masses, of connecting directly with the masses, and he sort of cuts out all the intermediaries, all the filters, and he goes straight to the people and takes his thoughts to them. And that is one of the reasons, apart from others, why Mann Ki Baat is such a successful program in the country, and is all set to cross the 100th episode mark.
Well, certainly a very, very big landmark that. Kartikeya, let me come to you. You know, we all know Prime Minister Modi is a fabulous orator and a wonderful communicator. Some of those who were surveyed said that the reason they really like listening to this program so much is because of the Prime Minister's powerful and decisive leadership, because he's knowledgeable, and because of his empathetic approach.
I think there is a sense of intimacy also. If you look at the way FDR utilized radio in America, when he was being targeted by then his political opponents, he mediated the content through airways without the mainstream press. So FDR in a way could circumvent the press, its views, which he felt were biased, and he directly connected with the people in America, in the cities. Because in 1920s, 30s and 40s, within those spate of 30 years, America underwent through micro-revolutions, which is like basic sanitation, electricity, infrastructure and roads. India also, today under Prime Minister Modi, is also undergoing many revolutions, which is like sanitation, toilet for women, people, 20% of the poor people, the survey which has been done by Shamika Ravi, people getting their basics in terms of electricity, bank accounts. Now in this context, I would say the word is intimate. If you listen to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, apart from the fact that, you know, he's well informed, or apart from the fact that he gets into detail, he might have a good team, he has he's that colloquial subaltern touch, but he's intimate with his audience. If you listen to him alone, it would be as if he's addressing you, though he's addressing a collective, but he personalizes it. So in that way, in terms of aesthetics, I would say that the beauty lies in the way he makes it intimate. That's number one. And secondly, there's a word in Hindi called tatkalik. So he does not take up esoteric subjects. he makes it tatkalik, topical, जो रोजमर्रा की चीजें हैं. He can talk to you about students getting nervous during examinations. Imagine when COVID took place, what was Prime Minister doing? He was behaving like an elderly statesman, जो घर के बड़े बूढ़े होते हैं. I still recall in the first 40 days of quarantine, when the messages were coming, it was Prime Minister was not talking about what great things he was doing. He was talking about, are you washing your hands? Is your morale up? Are you taking care of yourself? A lot of people made fun of Prime Minister in I think one of his Mann Ki Baats. He said we would gather and we'll create a noise. Log kehte thali bajayenge, but people don't understand that that was an act of solidarity. We have witnessed that in Spain, Barcelona, many other places where just people came out and they created a noise to feel each other, that they existed in their silos because you just couldn't meet them. But what was the medium? Medium was Mann Ki Baat. It was not coming through PIB press releases. It was not coming through SMSs. It was not coming through your WhatsApp thing. Those were ancillary issues. But Prime Minister through Mann Ki Baat was doing it. And the biggest power of Mann Ki Baat is, and apart from its uniqueness, is when he suggested 7 days before he went for the decision to implement a quarantine for 40 days, he said, let's try not getting outside our house. You see, people...
Preparing people for what was to come.
People not only heard him, they actually did what he wanted to do. How many leaders in modern time have been able to do that? But the instrument, again I would say here, is Mann Ki Baat. It is Mann Ki Baat that has been deployed for the larger collective, which feels personal, and I think he has done it very innovatively in the Indian context.
He has done it innovatively. There is no doubt about that. Kanchan Gupta, let me come back to you. Prime Minister Modi is globally a very, very popular leader. We know he's amongst the most followed leaders on social media. Whether it's Twitter or Facebook, he's outdone some of the most high-profile world leaders. But coming back to Mann Ki Baat, Kartikeya of course makes an interesting point. Apart from the fact that the Prime Minister is a great communicator, do you believe that the popularity can also be attributed to the fact that he touches upon issues that people can relate to? We've seen how Exam Pe Charcha has been so popular as well. He talks about sanitation, he talks about women's issues, he talks about bank accounts. These are issues that people can relate to. He also talks about sports every time India wins a tournament.
Well, when Mann Ki Baat was being thought about, what was the model in front of us? It was the closest was the State of the Nation address by the American president. But the whole idea was not to do a State of the Nation address by way of giving out statistics, these many jobs were created, or this much growth happened, or these many roads were built, whatever. The idea was to sort of connect directly with if I may use the word, with India's subaltern. The people who live in villages, in small towns, in district towns, in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, and who somehow have always had this angst that governments think about big cities, they think about big people, they think about big industry, they think about everything that is big. But when it comes to the people, when it comes to communities, when it comes to individuals, governments tend to become indifferent or even careless. So the idea was how to reach out to them and how to build a sort of a bridge between them and the Prime Minister. Now, Prime Minister Modi is not a beltway politician, like he is not from Lutyens, Delhi, about whom people already knew or about whom they were aware before he became Prime Minister. Of course, I mean, the campaign leading up to 2014 victory was very intense. It sort of brought to the fore every aspect of Chief Minister Modi and why he's best suited to become the Prime Minister of the country. Now, the story had to be taken beyond that. The story had to be taken to every household. Why every household matters, why every individual matters, and why every community matters. And the way to do that was not to talk politics. That the way to do that was not to talk hard policy and program, but to strike a conversation with the people. And I may add over here the biggest debilitating factor for politicians in India, and which generates a lot of hostility after a point, is that politicians tend to talk down to people. And Prime Minister Modi's whole idea was that he should be speaking to the people, and he should be talking with them, not neither talking down to them nor speaking down to them. So this sort of explains the way Man Ki Baat has evolved. You could, if you were listening to it on a radio, or if you were listening to it on any other device, because now it has become multi-platform, and if you were to just shut your eyes, you could very well imagine the Prime Minister sitting at a village chowpal and talking to people over there on how to deal with extreme heat and climate change, in saving their crops, or how to enhance their income by taking to tree plantation, and it goes on and on and on. I could give you an endless list of examples. But the way he talks about it, it is almost like the village elder telling the village how to sort of conduct their lives, or how to deal with problems, how to deal with crisis. And he does that similarly. He does that with households. So you could very well imagine him sitting inside a house and talking to members of that household, explaining to them the need for need to be hygiene conscious, why toilets make a difference, and again, examples abound. But a third factor which makes it very, very popular is that the Prime Minister uses Man Ki Baat to sort of disseminate ideas which otherwise are very difficult to carry forward. Ideas of change, ideas of conservation, ideas of 21st century world. And linked to that is the effort to sensitize people to emerging concerns, emerging worries in a very soft manner. Uh, then he also uses people as examples for others. So he will pick up stories from across the country of stories of to do with cleanliness, stories to do with social work, stories of exemplary valor. And recently, for instance, he took the example. He spoke to a couple of families which had taken the decision to donate the organs of their very close relatives who had declared brain dead, and they
Okay.
obviously could not be revived. And he used that story to create a sense of sort of spread the word, raise awareness about body organ donation,
Sir,
and inspire people that, look, if these people from a small town can do it, so can you. And all these things taken together then add up to the popularity of Man Ki Baat.
so there is also one issue, if you can take us through, since you spoke about the way it was being conceived. What makes Man Ki Baat very different is it's like podcasting. You have chosen radio as a medium. There was a song called "Video Killed the Radio Star." We live in the time of videos, But Prime Minister in 2014 chose airways like podcasting. Why did you choose that? Because it's the voice of the Prime Minister you hear. You don't get to see him today in a 5G enabled world. You can have both audio and video. So why did you, when you thought about Mann Ki Baat for the Prime Minister, sir, why did you decide that podcasting mode, the radio mode?
Well, I mean, there are three parts to it. One, why the radio mode? Uh, you know, Prime Minister Modi, even when he was Chief Minister Modi, was very, very curious about the reach of radio in our country and how, although radio had been written off and it was considered dead and gone, he was convinced that radio can be turned around, that people in far-flung places, they depend on the radio for a variety of things, from weather forecast to news to entertainment. And I distinctly remember when during the campaign to 2014, the campaign leading up to 2014, we had we had launched an internet radio, because otherwise you didn't have a license to run a radio, and in any case, private radio in India is not allowed to run current affairs and news shows. So we created an internet-based radio, and at that time, nobody was willing to carry the Prime Minister's speeches, his programs, his rallies, and whatever appeared would be in bits and pieces. So this radio became a totally dedicated medium to carry his voice, especially his speeches, his all the speeches that he was making, and it would be the full speech, not just excerpts from the speech. And you would be surprised, we would get messages from the Middle East, from Europe, that I was listening to Modi ji on the internet radio. So, but this is just a footnote. I mean, the point which I'm trying to make is that the Prime Minister was always convinced about the radio as a powerful medium. Now, you can always look at a person and form your views and ideas and opinions. And especially when that person is trusted, that person does not have to be seen on the screen all the time. His voice then becomes the voice then becomes the person, and the voice carries so much credibility, it carries so much trust with the people, that 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 the voice by itself becomes the medium. And lastly, Kartikeya, if you look at it, even video is now on its way out, and we had text, we had video, and now we are back to voice. And the big thing happening, the big conversations happening are all around voice and not around video. So in a way, Mann Ki Baat was ahead of its time, much before Twitter discovered space, or Clubhouse came along, or podcasting became fashionable in a big way. So it is, he sort of pre-saw the importance of using voice and carrying that voice to the masses. And you must remember that if he wanted it to be audiovisual, there was a problem, because sitting in some rural remote village, you may not have access to television. Sitting in some mountaintop hamlet, you may not have access to television, but you can always access a radio. And strangely enough, it also threw up the fact that a huge number of households in India actually have radio sets, because from the first episode onwards, Mann Ki Baat has had a huge listenership.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I think it would be safe to say that Mann Ki Baat made listening to the radio hip again, thanks to Prime Minister Modi. And it's quite fascinating what you're saying, Mr. Gupta. The voice is the message, and Mann Ki Baat, you believe, was ahead of its time. Let me ask you this. According to this survey that we are quoting, there are already 100 crore listeners of this program, and 96% of Indians are already aware of Mann Ki Baat. Those are staggering figures. But would you say, ye dil mange more? Are you optimistic that in the days and months ahead, the listenership is only going to increase further and further? And are there plans afoot to, in a sense, widen further the reach of an already very popular program?
Well, I mean, I think the IIM survey figures are quite accurate. And when you say 96% of the people are aware of something called Mann Ki Baat, now that again is true, because the sheer popularity of the program it has become a household name. And if you go to tier 2, tier 3 cities, to villages, to the chowpals, it has become sort of a mandatory thing that the last Sunday of the month, everybody sort of tunes into Mann Ki Baat on their little radio set. Or now, since it is multimedia, multi-platform, on their television sets. Uh, Look, Mann Ki Baat was never meant for the fashionable people of India, people who think they know everything, who have a very cynical view of government, who have a very cynical view of the way the country is managed. So Mann Ki Baat was not for them. uh, Mann Ki Baat was for people who trust government, people who believe that India has to be managed by a government. And when they, I mean, a year down the line or 2 years down the line, when they saw the contours of Modi government emerging, that trust only continued to grow. And along with the trust growing, along with the faith in government governing India growing, the the listenership of Mann Ki Baat also continued to grow. And again, I can only repeat, Mann Ki Baat was never about politics. It was never about partisan issues. It was about uh, things, very small things, which you and I may consider not important enough. For instance, that if you keep a pot of water with a small hole in it next to a plant, then it helps the plant survive the summer. Now, for you and me, that may not be important, but for rural India, where a lot of supplementary income depends on plants and trees and getting them through summer, this is great information. This is great wisdom. And even skeptics then get sort of convinced that there is merit in listening to this man. And he is like the pater familias, and like the grand old man of the family who gathers people around him once a month and listens to them, listens to their listens to what they have to say. And he also gently explains to them how to go about life, how to deal with problems, how to deal with issues, and very important problems and issues to do with health, to do with hygiene.
Absolutely. These are issues that no doubt have great resonance, and like you said, he's like the elder man, the old man around who the family gathers. He's a friend, philosopher and guide when he's talking to people on Mann Ki Baat, not just Prime Minister of this country. But Kanchan Gupta, as we wrap up this discussion, I want to put one question to both Kartikeya and you. Kartikeya, if I could start with you. What do you believe will be the legacy of Prime Minister Modi, the communicator?
I think the biggest legacy of Prime Minister as a communicator is, as Kanchanji pointed out, he does not come across as a person who is from Latin study. His ability to reach everyone, and especially the last man standing in the queue, is I would say, the foremost strength of his communication. He makes it intimate and he makes it personal, and that is why you see that he succeeds in communicating complex issues in simple language. Tell me, any other country would have undergone social upheaval if it had been not for the Prime Minister when he did demonetization. So he has done things through the power of his communication. Plus, people can communicate through technology, but people need to believe in you. वो जो विश्वास की राजनीति का जो मिलन तकनीक से हो रहा है और जो उनका बोलने का तरीका है, it makes him unique.
It makes him unique. I don't think one can dispute that at all. Kanchan Gupta, I will give you the last word. What, according to you, will be the lasting legacy of Prime Minister Modi, the communicator, not just the Prime Minister? Also, I'm curious, why a 100 rupee coin to commemorate the occasion?
That 100 rupee coin is actually a memento, and a lot of people would like to acquire it and keep it. I think I would also want one to keep it with me. But when we talk of legacy, there is no one legacy of a prime minister. Prime Minister Modi's legacy will, in a large part, be how he changed the trajectory of India, the trajectory of its growth, the trajectory of its development, the trajectory of its seeking a place, seeking its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. So that is one part of it. The second part of it is Prime Minister Modi will always be remembered as a communicator who, as a communicator, the like of whom India has not seen, and somebody who could build a national trust, who could get the entire nation to believe in him, to trust in him. There will always be naysayers. There will always be the skeptic, the critic. And I really don't think I would want to worry about them. But for the multitudes, he will be remembered as someone who spoke directly to them, who, apne man ki baat, he sort of told them directly, without using intermediaries, without using filters, and he sort of built this relationship of trust, which is something very, very rare globally now, because of the new kind of politics that we are seeing. So this will no doubt be his legacy, that he was able to connect with millions and millions and millions of Indians
without any intermediaries, as you said. Absolutely.
And without any intermediaries. And
yes,
he could build a relationship of trust with them.
I think that's very well summarized. Yes.
As Karthikeya said,
that's very well summarized. It's this relationship of trust that really constitutes the backbone of this show called Mann Ki Baat. And going by its track record, I think it is safe to say that its popularity and listenership are only going to increase in the days ahead. On that note, Kanchan Gupta, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective with us on the 100th episode of Mann Ki Baat. Karthikeya, thanks to you as well for joining us and sharing your perspective. That's a wrap on the show. Thanks so much for watching.